Hello friends, I'm Dr. Jyoti Sorout, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Gandhi Memorial National College, Ambala, Kent, Haryana. Today, I'm going to discuss with you a very well-known poem composed by William Wordsworth. The title of the poem is The World is Too Much With Us. This poem has been prescribed in the syllabus of BA third semester students of Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, Maharshi Dayanand University, Rohtak, and CDLU, Sirsa. So all those students who are interested in having a detailed understanding of Wordsworthian poem, The World is Too Much With Us, are requested to go through my presentation. So without any further delay, let's start with our presentation now. In this presentation, I am going to cover a number of topics. First of all, we'll try to find out about who the poet of this poem is. And as I told you earlier, it is William Wordsworth. Then we'll also try to find out about the major poetic works of William Wordsworth. Then we'll be reading the text of the poem. And after reading the text, we'll be having a detailed critical analysis of the poem. Then I'll also be discussing with you some of the central ideas of the poem. Then we'll be covering the major features of Wordsworthian poems. And in the end of my presentation, I'll be discussing with you some of the important questions for all the students who are to appear in the final examinations. So let's start. The poet is William Wordsworth, and as you can see his image as well, he was born in 1770 and he died in 1850. So William Wordsworth was one of the major romantic poets of England. He was also a poet laureate and he became poet laureate in 1843 and he remained so until his death in 1850. So he is very well known for his poem and for his collection of poems, Preface to the Lyrical Ballads, which is also known as the Manifesto of Romantic Movement. He is known for his love for nature. He is a nature poet, a romantic poet, and in almost all of his poems, he has shown his regard and worship for nature. According to Wordsworth, the poetry should be the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings which are recollected in tranquility. So this is the definition of poetry given by William Wordsworth in one of his poems. And Wordsworth believed in writing a poetry about ordinary incidents taken from ordinary common life of common people, and those incidents should be described in the language of ordinary people so that they are able to understand it. Before Wordsworth, the kind of poetry used to be written was not in ordinary language, because before Wordsworth, neoclassical poets, they used to write in a very high class language which was not understood by the common middle class people. So Wordsworth tried to bring that poetry out of the regime of upper caste and aristocratic class to the common people. So he chose the subjects in his poems about the common incidents in life. So this is where Wordsworth lived throughout his life. Cockermouth, Cumberland. This is the house of Wordsworth. So William Wordsworth was known for his friendship with Samuel Taylor Coleridge. He, along with Coleridge, they produced a work titled as Lyrical Ballads in 1798, and this work marked as the beginning of English Romantic movement. And lyrical ballads, it contained the 1798 edition contained only four poems composed by S.T. Coleridge, and out of those, Rhyme of Ancient Mariner was known to be one of his best works. And Wordsworth's Tinton Abbey also received much appreciation after getting published in lyrical ballads. Then let's talk about the magnum opus of William Wordsworth, the Prelude. It was a semi-autobiographical poem, and Wordsworth started writing this poem in 1798, and he continued to write it till his death. It was in fact published 3 months after his death. And thus, Wordsworth, along with Coleridge, helped Romanticism take hold in English poetry. And as I told you earlier also, he became Poet Laureate in 1843 and he remained so until his death in 1850. Now let's find out some of the major poetic works composed by William Wordsworth. These are some of the poems. Out of them, We Are Seven, The Tables Turned, She Dwelt Among the Untrodden Ways, Lucy Gray, The Solitary Reaper, Nutting, Ode to Duty, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. This poem has been prescribed in the syllabus of so many classes at school level, and it is also known as Daffodils. My Heart Leaps Up, Ode, Intimations of Immortality, The World is Too Much With Us, To the Cuckoo, Laodamia, and finally the Prelude. So these are some of the major poetic works of William Wordsworth. In almost all of his poems, he is known for his nature love. So let's come to our discussion of the world is too much with us. Let's read the text first of all. The world is too much with us, late and soon, getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away, a sordid boon. This sea that bears her bosom to the moon. The winds that will be howling at all hours, and are up gathered now like sleeping flowers. For this, for everything, we are out of tune. It moves us not. Great God, I'd rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outworn. So might I, standing on this pleasant lea, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn. Have sight of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his reed horn. So this is the text of the poem, and in this poem we can see that there is a shift from nature to materialism. So Wordsworth shows his disapproval, his disgust of modern man's shifting away from nature and becoming more worldly wise, becoming more involved in materialistic pursuits. So let's analyze the poem line by line. The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. So Wordsworth tries to say that modern man has become so much surrounded by the worldly things and materialistic things that he is only and only concerned about getting and earning more and more money and then spending it. So in fact, man is laying waste the heavenly powers given to him by God. The powers, what are the heavenly powers which have been given by the God? The powers to appreciate the beauty, the powers to help others, the powers to reason before doing anything. But man is in mad pursuit of money. So Wordsworth does not like this kind of man and this kind of society. In the third line, Wordsworth says, little we see in nature that is ours. It is very little that we as human beings see in nature, that these things are so beautiful, these things are so beneficial for the whole existence of human beings. But we don't have time. Now, who has time to see the beauty of the sunrise or sunset? Who has time to see the beauty of the chirping of birds? Nobody in the modern day world has time to appreciate the beauty of nature. And this is what disturbs Wordsworth. He says, we have given our hearts away to materialistic things, not to natural things, to those things which are only for a momentary time. And this is a sordid boon. This is a curse. So we should not do all these things. So man has become more worldly wise. He is wasting his powers. He is showing no interest in nature. And all these things are bad bargain. Sordid boon means it's a bad bargain. So here in the first four lines of this poem, Wordsworth laments at the growing materialism of modern day man. This sea that bares her bosom to the moon. Now in the lines from 5 to 8, Wordsworth tries to show what are the beautiful natural things that man is missing out. First of all, the beauty of sea and the moon, the night time when the moon is shining in the sky and the sea is there and the tides are there in the sea. How beautiful such a scene is, but how many people have time to appreciate the scene of such a beauty? Now we all are living in high rising buildings. We don't even have time to appreciate the night full of stars, the sky full of stars at night time. So this is what Wordsworth is trying to point out. The winds that will be howling at all hours. So the beauty of the wings and are upgathered now like sleeping flowers. The beauty of flowers, whether they are blooming or they are sleeping, they look so beautiful, they look so relaxing to the eyes and mind of human beings. But we don't have time. For this, for everything, we are out of tune. We are out of tune means our heart, our mind cannot appreciate the light music which is there in the nature. So, in the lines from 5 to 8, Wordsworth had described a number of beautiful things of nature: moon shining on the surface of sea, winds blowing noisily all the day, and when everything they get calm like sleeping flowers in the evening. But we don't have time for all these beautiful, natural, peace-giving, harmonious feelings which are present in the nature. It moves us not. All these things, they do not move the modern man. And Wordsworth is highly disturbed at this fact that we are not moved by these things. We are not moved by the inherent beauty which is present in the nature. It moves us not, great God. I'd rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outborn. So poet wants to embrace paganism. Paganism is an old Greek religion which worships nature and the natural objects as God. So he wants to leave Christianity and wants to embrace the old religion, the old Greek religion, paganism. Though he knows that it is a belief which is outworn nowadays, which is no longer believed by the people of his times, but he wants to embrace, he wants to follow paganism because he likes the idea of worshipping nature and natural objects instead of worshipping money and economic pursuits. See, through this he wants to convey this message that the more closer we are with the nature, the better it is for the humanity. Because otherwise we are laying waste our powers of being good human beings. Next, in the next lines he says, so might I, standing on this pleasant lea, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn. And what kind of glimpses he wants to see? Have sight of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his wreathed horn. He wants to see the glimpses of mythological gods Proteus and Triton. So, while Proteus was the mythological sea god who could constantly change his forms, Triton was the son of Poseidon and Aphrodite who could blow the conch shell in order to rise the waves of the sea. So Wordsworth here has used the allusion of Proteus and Triton in order to show, in order to prove his point that the Christian thoughts and beliefs are no longer able to give that much uh, peace to the mind as the old pagan religion, as the old Greek paganism, in which when people used to worship nature, they used to get more peaceful, they used to get the harmony in their lives. So poet also wants to see the sea gods Proteus and Triton, and he wants to see such scenes which would give him pleasure and remove his loneliness, which is very much there in the industrial society of England and everywhere else, while which was not there in the earlier times when paganism was followed. So now let's come to the central ideas of the poem. As you can see, this poem has 14 lines, and any poem having 14 lines written in some rhythmical, lyrical manner can be called as a sonnet. So this poem is in a sonnet form. So this poem is in a form of complaint. And what is the complaint of the poet? The complaint is that man has lost connection to the nature and nature's beauties and bounties. So poet openly criticizes the materialistic world which is going madly after the economic gains and which is destroying nature and which is not having even a look at the natural beauties. So poet points out the man's insensitivity towards nature. He says that man has lost touch with the spiritual world by going after the materialistic world. So now man cannot attain God if he is always thinking about money. So poet doesn't like such kind of a civilization, and that is why he wants to embrace paganism. He wants to embrace the old Greek mythological ideas of religion, when people used to worship the natural objects. And Wordsworth is worried that man has given his heart away in exchange of materialistic things, and which is not going to do him a very good thing in future. He praises the primitive religion of nature worship, and he gives out the solutions to the problems of human beings, that they have embraced the materialism. He wants human beings to be a pagan. What kind of a pagan? One who worships nature, one who sees godly images in nature, and if a person starts seeing God in nature and natural objects, he will obviously not deteriorate those objects, he will not destroy those objects, and he will appreciate their beauty. So, poet wants human beings to gain spiritual solace by embracing nature. He gives us advice that one should be in harmony with nature instead of following a religion that separates a person from nature. So, Wordsworth gives out his theme of communion with nature, and as I have told you earlier also, that Wordsworth was a nature lover, true nature lover, and this is his central idea in most of his poems. Be as connected to nature as you can, and you will live happily ever after. Now let's come to the main features of Wordsworthian poems. In his poems, Wordsworth shows his imaginative powers. The imaginative powers of readers are also enhanced and invoked. Then he shows his love for nature. He does include so many symbols in his poems. He proves his point by showing his emotions, and he makes use of the self. Now, how does Wordsworth use imagination in his poems? He uses imagination by creating a dreamlike expression. It seems as if the reader is in a dream and all the happenings are there in dreamlike sequence. He creates the possibility of wishful thoughts. Just now he has done this thing in the present poem also. For example, the use of the terms, the use of the phrases I'd rather be, wishful thought, wishful thinking, that he would love to be. He would rather be a pagan instead of a Christian. So might I. So these are the expressions which are not in the present condition, but which may have the future possibility. And he uses references to the gods. For example, the lines like Proteus rising from the sea. Proteus is a mythological sea god, and Triton blow his wreathed horn. Triton again is a mythological god. Now let's come to the nature love of Wordsworth, and in this poem as well, Wordsworth has shown so many naturally beautiful sceneries which please the minds and hearts of human beings. We can see a number of words which are clearly hinting towards the nature love of Wordsworth. Nature, sea, moon, winds, flowers, Lee, sea. All these things, all these words, they hint towards the nature imagery used by Wordsworth in the present poem. So apart from giving this idea that one should not neglect nature, he uses a lot of symbols also. The major symbol in the present poem is world and nature contrast. The contrast between world and nature. And what kind of a world does Wordsworth portray in the present poem? A world which is full of corruption, a world which is totally materialistic, and a world which is anything but not nature, anything but nature, anything which is far, far away from nature. So Wordsworth wishes to have a nature. What kind of a nature? A nature which has been shown as an opposing symbol to the corrupt materialistic world, a symbol of peace and harmony, a symbol of strength, a symbol of righteousness, and finally a symbol of purity. So Wordsworth uses in this poem a phrase that we lay waste our powers. So we have the powers to appreciate nature, but we do not do so. So we are laying waste to such powers of humanity that we can protect and conserve and save nature. But no. We are totally in the mad pursuit of such materialistic things which do not do any good to us in the long run. Now let's come to the emotions, the use of emotions. So this poem has been composed in a very emotional manner, and the poet shows his emotions in at a number of points. For example, in the phrase, we have given our hearts away. So the speaker of the poem is disgusted at the lack of emotion, at the lack of feelings in the heart, that our hearts do not go out to empathize with nature, to sympathize with nature, to embrace nature. A sordid boon, a bad bargain. And as you can see, the use of exclamation mark and exclamation mark, it shows that how strongly the speaker is moved, how strongly the speaker rejects this idea of man's materialistic pursuit. It moves us not. So speaker is disgusted at the reader's connection to the corrupt world. He wants that all these things should move the human beings and they should love nature and worship nature. And then the last lines, great God, I'd rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outworn. Here again we can see the use of exclamation mark after great God. Again, strong emotions. And all these things, they point towards Wordsworth's idea of respecting and worshipping nature in all forms. So nature in Wordsworth's poetry is always peace-giving, is always soothing, pure, and harmonious being. Unlike Tennyson's. Then let's come to Wordsworth's idea of the self. So this poem has been presented, has been narrated in the first person, means the autobiographical mode has been used. The use of I and we. The speaker uses I, the speaker sometimes uses we. And he uses you or us for the reader. So this poem This kind of autobiographical mode, this kind of first person narrative, it gives the poet an ample opportunity to show the intimate conversation between the reader and the poet. So we see that Wordsworth gives out his theme of communion with nature, of having a connection with nature, so that people who do not pay any heed to the beauties of nature, they start finding nature interesting and beautiful. They become appreciative of nature. This is what is the inherent message of Wordsworth in this poem. Now, after studying this poem, let's come to some of the important questions which I have noted down for all the students who are to appear in the final examinations. Here are those questions. Now, the first question can be, according to the poet, what is man's attitude to nature? So, man's attitude to nature is not very good. Man is totally materialistic and he has stopped appreciating nature. He has stopped paying heed to nature. He is only and only thinking about earning more and more money and spending it. So, this kind of attitude of modern man is disgusted upon by William Wordsworth, and Wordsworth wishes to put forth his idea that man should start worshipping nature. Then, who are Proteus and Triton? So, Proteus and Triton are mythological sea gods, and Proteus is such a sea god who could constantly change his forms, while Triton is that god who was the son of Aphrodite, and he could blow his conch shells to rise the waves of the sea. So, these are the mythological sea gods. Then, why does the poet want to become a pagan? So, poet wants to become a pagan because he doesn't like the Christian people's attitude towards nature. He doesn't like the Christianity's materialism, the love for materialism. So, he wants to embrace paganism, and paganism is such a religion, that old religion which worships nature and natural objects as gods. Then why does the poet mean by stating the world is too much for us? The poet means that we have become so worldly wise. We have entrapped ourselves in the worldly materialistic things. So we do not pay heed to any other things, any natural surroundings. We do not have time at all. So that is why the poet says the world is too much with us. All the time we are thinking about from where to get more money, from where to spend it, from how to spend it, but we do not pay any attention to the nature. Next question can be, what are we out of tune with? So we are out of tune with nature. We are out of tune with nature's beauties, and which is not a very good thing. Then, what is a sordid boon? Sordid boon means a bad bargain. See, the world is a gift of God. But the human beings who are living in this world, they are not utilizing this gift very properly. They are instead wasting this gift because they are wasting their powers, the humanly heavenly powers. So, Wordsworth wishes to say that this is a bad bargain on the part of human beings, that they are only after money and they are losing connection with nature. They are in fact destroying nature, and this is going to harm them in the long run. The next question can be, who is a pagan according to the poet? So, according to the poet, a pagan is someone who worships nature. who sees the images of God in all the natural objects. Now let's come to some more questions, and these questions can be asked in long answer types. First question can be, what does the poet think about the way man treats nature? So poet doesn't think very highly about the way man treats nature. Poet in fact laments on the modern man's attitude towards nature. Then next question can be, the sonnet is a criticism of life in this modern mechanized milieu. Yes, definitely. This sonnet has been created by William Wordsworth in order to criticize the modern society and the modern man, which in this industrial world is running only after money, gold, materialistic pursuits, materialistic things, worldly things, and has lost its connection. And that connection can be to nature, to spiritual things. He has totally lost all such divine connections. So it is a comment, it is a criticism of modern world. Then the poet prefers paganism to worldliness. Yes. Poet prefers paganism. Why? Because in the paganism, the doctrine of paganism is worship nature as God. So if you start worshipping nature, the connection, that the lost connection is again formed. And this is what Wordsworth wishes. This is what Wordsworth is trying to make human beings understand. That the more in communion, in coherence, in connection with nature you are, the better it is. So he wishes to prefer paganism instead of worldliness. And next question can be, how does Wordsworth employ Greek mythology and other devices to portray the materialistic mind of modern man? So he employs Greek mythology by using the allusions of Proteus and Triton, the mythological sea gods. And by using their allusions, poet wishes to give this idea, wishes to advise modern man that man should leave whatever is not natural and should come in the company of nature, should befriend nature, should embrace nature. So this is all we have in this poem. Stay tuned for more such videos. Thank you very much.